Hello, welcome to the News Hour. Thousands of people in Myanmar have risked arrest, taking to the streets for the biggest protest yet against the coup. In the largest city, Yangon, protesters chanted slogans against the military and held up pictures of civilian leader Aung San Suu Kyi. She remains under house arrest after being detained in the early hours of Monday. It was one of the first acts of the takeover by the military, whose leaders refused to accept her party's win in November's election. And in a further bid to silence dissent, they've added to a ban on several social networks with a near-total internet shutdown. Florence Louis has our report now from Kuala Lumpur.
Hundreds of people are out on the streets of Yangon. Monks, students, the young and old. Many are dressed in red, the colour of the National League for Democracy Party, or the NLD. It won November's election by a landslide, a result the military has refused to recognise, citing unsubstantiated allegations of fraud. The banners read, "Against military dictatorship." These people are calling for the release of elected leader Aung San Suu Kyi and others who've been detained. Protests have grown from just banging pots at night in Yangon to a civil disobedience movement. Medical staff went on strike first and were joined on Friday by lecturers and other government employees.
We don't want this military coup, which unlawfully seized power from our elected government. We don't want anyone who steals power and then forms their own government. We're no longer going to work with them. We want the military coup to fail.
The threat of arrest is real. Australian Sean Turnell, an economic advisor to Aung San Suu Kyi, was reportedly taken into custody on Saturday. Another key aide, Win Tain, who called on the public to oppose the coup, was detained on Friday on charges of sedition. The attorney for Suu Kyi and the deposed president, Win Myint, says he hasn't been able to contact either of them.
As far as I know, they're under house arrest. Aung San Suu Kyi is in her private home, not one given by the government, and Win Myint is not at the president's residence, but in a separate home. That is what I heard.
Activists are also being held. This is the moment that Wei Nin says her father, a former student protest leader, was taken away by soldiers.
It's been 5 days since my father and other activists were arrested early hour on Monday morning. And since then, we haven't heard anything about their situation, where they're being held, or their health condition. So all the family members are very worried about them.
The military is gradually cutting off the population from one another and the outside world, first by blocking Facebook, then Twitter and Instagram, and now shutting down the internet. UK-based internet monitoring group NetBlock says as at Saturday 2 p.m. local time, internet connectivity in Myanmar had fallen to 16% of ordinary levels. Suu Kyi's party has declared itself the sole legitimate representative of the people. In a show of defiance, about a dozen NLD MPs convened a symbolic parliamentary session on Thursday. Yangon regional MPs held a swearing-in ceremony via Zoom. International pressure on Myanmar is growing. The UN Security Council has called on the military to release Aung San Suu Kyi and others who are being detained. The US is considering targeted sanctions. And in the region, Malaysian and Indonesian leaders have called on the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN, to hold a special meeting. But the generals have been down this road before. Myanmar's military leaders were shunned by the West when they ran the country from 1962 to 2011. They won't be giving up power so easily. Florence Louis, Al Jazeera, Kuala Lumpur.
Choi Win is the executive director of the Burma Human Rights Network and joins us now from London. Are you concerned that with the protests growing and an internet shutdown now in place, that a violent crackdown on peaceful protesters could be imminent?
Hi, thanks for interviewing me today. Yes, it happened in the past, history in Burma, like whenever people comes out to demand their rights. The military and the authority, the military normally they're unable to tolerate this kind of activities. But one thing my worry is so far the military also show the restraint, and they're not coming after the crowd, but we've been hearing that there are so many arrests, or those who are the student, the activists and the leaders, those who led today demonstration, has been arrested. Few of them has been arrested. So we still need to. It is very difficult for us to confirm some information as well because of due to the internet, blackout.
So
hopefully.
No, sorry. Yeah. So I was just going to say. So actually, what concerns you is the fact that they might just let these protests. They might tolerate these protests carrying on for a bit longer, but they'll just try to identify the people that are organising the demonstrations and target them for arrest and detention.
I mean, this time we find some differences from the military side. They are not immediately, shooting and killing the people as they did before. What they're doing is they are using psychological warfare, psychological games. Like today, suddenly they spread the news that Aung San Suu Kyi has been released. So people are celebrating and they came out on the street and they are very happy. And this is immediately those who are activists, they're aware of that. They spread the counter the misinformation and immediately inform everyone by telephones and by messages. This is false news and this is a rumor. It is not to believe this. So people start taking aware of what's going on. They are not. They're more careful than before. And another one point is a previous time they mix up their goons within the crowd and they become violent. So they give the excuses to the authorities to crack down violently because some crowd has crossed the line. But this time we have been very careful, and I would like to echo the advice from the student leaders like Minko and I. What they are looking for is they want the people committed to the civil disobedience, especially the government staff, those who are like doctors, like transportation, Ministry of Transportation, the different like teachers. They all boycott the government job and they don't go to their job. So and the government will shut down. And also they are urging the people that share your whatever you have with those people, those who cannot go to the job and they may not get their salaries. So we are urging international community as well. Do their best.
Can I ask how responsive have people been? We saw many thousands on the streets today. You're saying the plan now is they want to focus on civil disobedience to make life difficult for the government. How widespread is that civil disobedience? Do you have any idea? Because it seems as though the majority of civil servants are still going to work.
Yeah, this is not a civil majority because this is gradually expanding. It's still going on. There are many places, there are many government officers and like teachers, they have already issued their statements. They are joining the civil disobedience movement. So it is gradually getting momentum. I know we understand that it will take little bit time, but it is getting to the point that the government will shut down at some point because the whole nation come joining us like that. So the important thing is international response is very important because this will encourage the people to step up and to counter what the government has been doing against them, or against destroying the democracy and taking down the democratically elected government. International community immediately need to put targeted sanction on the economic interests of the military, because behind the coup, this is one of the main reasons why this military general they want to protect their family businesses and wealth. This is one of the key points why this general dare to do this, dare to take down a democratically elected government. So we must respond. International community need to respond, targeting their economic interests, their companies, their cronies.
Thank you very much.
You're most welcome.
Choi Win, Executive Director of the Burma Human Rights Network.